Well, writer and radio host Stephen Lenman joins me live from Chicago for his thoughts on the unrest going on in Syria. Welcome to the program. So, Mr. Lenman, first of all, how do you explain the violence going on in Syria? Who is really behind it?
Oh, there's no question. Again, thank you again for bringing me on. I've written so much about both Iran and Syria, and I have a brand new article I'll put out tomorrow. It's mostly on Syria because that's the prime focus at the moment, but I call my article Targeting Syria and Iran. It's very clear what's going on. It's a replication of what happened in Libya, minus NATO bombing, and make no mistake, if all measures employed fail, you can expect bombs away to follow. Washington plans regime change. Washington wants Iran isolated, first by targeting Syria. Again, the issue is not the Syrian regime. It's not so much the nature of the government, who runs it. It's independence that's the issue. An independent regime where Washington wants a client regime, a pro-Western one. That's the exact same issue in Iran. The nuclear issue is a red herring, make no mistake about it. The idea is literally to create another client, pro-Western regime, the same as it was for a generation under the Shah, using any means necessary. And we can see the same storyline unfolding. One very important thing: Washington prefers diplomatic cover through the Security Council, but make no mistake, with it or without it, it doesn't matter. It will it's already circumvented international law, because only the U.S. Constitution, allows only the Congress to allow America to get involved in a war one way or another, but of course that's never observed. But the issue is, without Security Council approval, the scenario that unfolded against Serbia-Kosovo in 1999 will repeat, I expect. And what happened was the Security Council provided no cover. The Western powers decided that NATO was all that mattered. And 78 days, I believe, of horrendous bombing followed. Can I read you what a former Nuremberg prosecutor said about that? It's very brief.
Go ahead.
He said, this was a man named Walter Rockler, and he said, what NATO did constituted the most brazen international aggression since the Nazis attacked Poland to prevent alleged Polish atrocities against Germans. It was a bald-faced lie. It was all pretext. And his next line was, the United Nations has discarded pretensions
Indeed.
to international legality and decency and embarked on a course of raw imperialism run amok, unquote. That's exactly what I think is planned now against Syria.
Indeed. And so, despite what you said, and despite the fact that with the case of Libya, Russia was also against the actions by NATO and the US, I mean, how likely will there be another unilateral action taken against Syria? Well, I think as you have laid it out in your setup to my comments, I think that's exactly what's unfolding now. We know that in Libya we saw the NTC established, create an illegitimate group, transformed into the legitimate government of Libya. International law prohibits anything like that. We see the same thing now. We've got the Syrian National Council, based in Turkey. You've got the so-called Free Syrian Army. These are militants. These are insurgents. They have no legitimacy. They're a rogue operation, gangs. Assad is right. They're gangs. And when they come in, I mean, they're committing most of the violence. I call Assad more victim than villain. That's exactly what's going on. But you follow the U.S. media. You follow what's said by Western politicians. All of them, once in power, whether it's William Hague, I quoted him in my article, Susan Rice, this unspeakable menace, a so-called U.S. ambassador, Hillary Clinton, I call her a war goddess. That's what she is. And Obama bringing up the rear with absolutely appalling comments The fingers are being pointed the wrong way. The guilt goes to Washington. It goes to the complicit NATO partners.
Indeed.
It goes to the despotic regional states that are involved in this. It goes to Turkey. It goes to Israel. And it certainly does not go to Assad. But again, the victim is being blamed for the crimes of the perpetrator.
Indeed.
It's a dirty, ugly business. And I've been writing one article after another on it. I say bravo to China and Russia for vetoing the resolution that absolutely would have smoothed the way to war. It talked about further measures, quote unquote, further measures will be taken if Assad didn't agree to step down in 21 days. Well, what body of nations has the right to tell the leader of another nation to step down? Again, international law absolutely prohibits it. The law goes back to 1932, repeated in future laws, that absolutely it is illegal to meddle in the internal affairs of another country. The only exception is if a country attacks another country. Then the country attacked can respond in self-defense, but only until the Security Council acts. That's the extent of it. There are no other exceptions. Self-defense is legitimate. Nothing else.
Indeed.
America is the aggressor. NATO is the aggressor, and the complicit states are aggressors with them. And at issue is imperialism, establishing regional states, knocking them down one after another. These are criminal acts. They should be exposed. I do it over and over again in my writing and on the air, including on my own program.
Indeed. All right. I'm sorry we have to leave it there. Many thanks to you, Stefan Lehman, right-hand radio host from Chicago. As always, thanks for your thoughts there, sir.